Have you heard of the Google Inactive Account Manager? I certainly hadn't. I was making videos for 2 years before I even heard of it. But if you haven't heard about it, check it out. This video is going to be pretty brief, and it's going to tell you what that account manager can do, what it can't do, and how to set it up. But basically, once you find it, it is so easy to walk through it. I don't think I'm going to spend a lot of time on setup. So let's talk about what it is and what it can do. So the Google Inactive Account Manager is a free tool, feature, that's connected to your Google account. And it allows you to tell Google what to do if you have been inactive on your account for a specified period of time. The rule of thumb, what I've heard, is that if you become inactive on your Google account, which is obviously connected to your channel and to a lot of other things, your Gmail and things like that, if you become inactive for 2 years, they'll try to send you some messages, but if you don't respond and the 2 years click by, they're going to take down your channel. In fact, they might take down your whole Google account. I mean, that's understandable, right? But maybe you just got sick. Yeah, maybe something happened. You were in the hospital for a month, and then you're home, recuperating for another month, and it's getting later and later, and you haven't posted anything. Well, you don't want Google just decide, well, this person has dropped this, so we're going to close out the channel. That's what this account manager is for. It lets you provide instructions to Google about what to do if you've become inactive, right? They're going to have you set up a trusted contact or two so that they can send emails to that person to let them know that you're getting into limbo land here. It lets you share selected data, like maybe your Gmail. It also lets you tell Google to just delete the account. If it's been 2 years and I haven't done anything, just delete it. So this is very important for YouTube creators because your account is a whole lot more than just your Gmail address, right? It's your videos, it's your business emails, it can be your brand contracts, it's your analytics, it's your Google Photos, it's a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, let's talk a minute about what this doesn't do, okay? This does not automatically transfer ownership of your YouTube channel or your Google account to somebody else. If you have a YouTube channel, you should already have a brand account. And you can have managers in there, you can have co-owners in there. You should already have that stuff set up. So it does not transfer ownership. It's not a substitute for your will or for a power of attorney or something like that. And this is something that I really should do a video on, is why every YouTube creator needs to have a will. And I don't care if you're 19 or you're 90. That means if you die and you don't have a will, it's called being intestate. The state that you live in is going to decide what happens with your assets. For instance, I'm single, but I have 2 adult children. And if I died intestate, both of my kids would get my estate equally. But that might not be what I want to have happen. My kids could be very well off, better off than I am, in which case they might not need my estate and I want to give it to the charity of my choice. Or one of the kids is doing great and the other one is really struggling, and maybe I want to give more to one than to the other. So you want to make sure that your wishes are complied with when you pass away. That's why a will is so important. And why I say I don't care if you're 19 or 90. When you're 90, you think sooner or later, the Grim Reaper is coming. But if you're 19, I don't think you're thinking about that. You're not thinking about it at 39. You're probably not thinking about it at 49. But you could have a car accident tomorrow. You could have a heart attack at 43 that takes you out. They say the younger you are when you have a heart attack, the worse that heart attack usually is. You want to have an estate plan set up. And I have done a couple of videos on an asset protection plan. So you can check them out too on my channel. But this little tool that they offer, it doesn't take the place of a will or a power of attorney. So how do you set it up? It's very simple. It's very easy. You go into your Google account. Once you've signed in, on the left you're going to see data and privacy. You click on that. You scroll down and you're going to find a section that talks about planning for your digital legacy. Make a plan for your digital legacy is what it says right now in June of 2026. They tend to change the names of things, but that's what it says right now. So you click on that, and that opens up the Google Inactive Account Manager. You'll see a button that says Start, so obviously you click Start. And then you choose an inactivity period. And Google's going to prompt you with something like, how long should your account remain inactive before action is taken? And your choices can be 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. You know, people go on vacation. This is not just about getting sick or something. You know, sometimes people go on vacation and it lasts longer than you expect it to. And so you've been inactive for 6 months, let's say. So you get to choose what that time period is going to be. They then want you to verify your contact information, make sure that you have your most current phone number and the best emails for you. The next section is probably the most important section. It asks you to add trusted contacts. Now that can be a spouse, that can be an attorney, that can be your digital executor, that can be an adult child, or 2 adult children in my case. So they're going to want their email so that they have a way to get hold of these people if you become inactive for whatever time period you have set up. Then you get to decide what information you're going to share with those contacts. And the biggest mistake is that people either don't click anything, just not too smart, or they click everything. And you might want to think about that. You know, if you're having your spouse be your contact person, what do they need? Do they need your email? I would think so. Do they need copies of your contracts? I would think so. So you get to pick and choose what it is that Google is going to share with these contacts that you've set up. You also get to send a little message. Like you can say, contact my attorney about these accounts. Or these files contain information about my YouTube business. Keep it clear, keep it practical. Don't go, you don't have to be writing 6 lines about what these things are. Just make it very clear so that whoever is receiving this understands why they're receiving it, why it's important. And it's probably a good idea to compare what you're doing with this tool with what you've already done with your estate planning, with your will and your powers of attorney. I would suggest that those contacts should overlap, but that's perfectly up to you. So the last big question is whether or not your channel or your Google account should be deleted after a certain period of time. Basically, it's binary. It's either a yes or a no. Why would you want to have it deleted? Well, if you've been inactive for 2 years, it's possible that you have passed away. You know that better than anybody else. You know about your health. You know how old you are. So you might want to delete it because there are privacy issues involved. You certainly don't want somebody getting a hold of your information and then using you to spam a gazillion different people. It might be because the family members don't need any access to this. They're not they're not concerned. You know, they're not going to follow up on the YouTube channel. So you might as well just delete the whole thing. But why wouldn't you want it to be deleted? Well, the most obvious answer, as far as I'm concerned, is because your YouTube channel is still generating revenue. Maybe you have a whole lot of evergreen videos up, and you don't want to delete the channel if your heirs are getting some income from this, right? Your family might need some of the records. You might have sponsorship contracts or brand contracts. Your family might need that information. So I think most people, they just leave that deletion button turned off unless they have issues about privacy. So at this point, I told you it was going to be short and sweet. At this point, I would just tell you, be careful, go back over everything, make sure you've chosen the right people. Really think this through, you know, spend an afternoon looking at this stuff. Maybe you want to discuss it with your spouse or with a good friend, or maybe you have a mentor that's helping you with your channel. Discuss it with her. See what she thinks. Lastly, as I usually do, I'm going to tell you the mistakes to avoid. Number one, choosing the wrong trusted contact. Now listen, you can always go back in and change this down the road, just to let you know. It's not, you know, set in stone. But if you can do it right from the beginning, I think that's a benefit. So number one is choosing the wrong contacts. Two, connected to what I just said, never reviewing the plan again. This is something that every year you should go back and look at things. This is one of those things that you should be looking at. Maybe it's your anniversary date of when you started your channel, that you want to look at your email lists, you want to look at this Google Inactive Account Manager, you want to review your will once a year. There's so many things that maybe on the anniversary of when you started your channel, that's when you go in as a business person and review these types of things. It'll be to your benefit because relationships change, business partners change. Maybe your executor who you picked for your will, maybe that person has passed away or has moved out of the state, and it would be inconvenient for that person to be your executor. Or maybe you don't like that person anymore. Another one of the big mistakes is just assuming that this takes the place of a will. I mentioned that in the beginning. It's not the same thing as a will. It works hand in glove with your will, but it's not the same thing as a will. It's not a legal document. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention that you should do every year is to update your digital asset inventory. Okay? I actually have that as a lead magnet, which is a list of all your digital assets. You know, if you're going to do an inventory, it's kind of a checklist for your assets. I'll put that in the description. So lastly, as I always say, you know, people spend so many years building up this channel, and then they spend no time planning for what's going to happen after you pass away, or in this situation, maybe you just become inactive for a while. There's no planning about your future, and that's a big mistake. So that's what this channel is all about. It's called Creator Asset Protection. The channel is about protecting your digital assets. They're just as valuable as your house. In fact, in some cases, they might be more valuable than your house. So pay attention to what you're doing and treat this like a business. And thank you very much for spending some time, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.